What's up, everybody? Part 3. Hopefully this will be the last one. But maybe I'll just keep on making some videos until the end of the month on this topic. So, which is only till tomorrow. So where was I? Parents, grandparents who are, let's just call it for what it is. They're afraid and they're fearful. They're probably lukewarm and not really Christians to begin with. If they're not correcting their kids, if you're not letting them know and warning them, at least warning them. You know, if you look up Ezekiel, 3:18 through 21, I mean, it says in there, if you warn someone of their sin and they continue to sin and they die in their sin, they'll go to hell, but your hands will be clean because you warned them. But if you don't warn them of their sin and the danger that they're in, and they go to hell, their blood will be on your hands. You will be accountable. Do you think that when you become a mother or a father that you are not accountable for your kids? What you expose them to, what you condone? Do you think that you're not going to be accountable? Listen, children are a gift from God. And they are your responsibility. It's our job as parents to raise our children in Christ. But if you're just going along to get along, then guess what? You're probably not a Christian. Matter of fact, I would bet everything I have in the bank, which really isn't much, but I bet money that you aren't. You're not a Christian. I can almost guarantee it. Because a real Christian is going to stand up for what he believes in. A real Christian is going to stand up for what's right. Always. And you know, the thing is, like I was saying, you know, those Christians that don't have a backbone, especially if you're a mother or father, like, come on, you know, it's amazing. How can you not have why would you be afraid to talk to your kids unless you just really are condoning it? And the thing is, you know, a lot of people, a lot of parents and grandparents and family members, they're too afraid. They're too fearful to bring correction to their own family. If you can't bring correction to your own family and give the truth to your own family, how can God use you in the world? How can you be a witness to anyone else if you can't even be a witness to your own family? Does that make sense? And like I was saying in part 2, you know, I can hear it now. Oh, well, you know, they're going to be upset with me. They're going to get mad at me. They're going to be offended. So you don't really care. You're not really doing it. You're not really holding back for their sake. You're doing it for your own selfish reasons because you're afraid of how it's going to affect you. You don't want them to be mad at you. You don't want them being angry with you. See, you're worried about yourself, and that's not a parent. That's not a true loving family member. If you really love them and they're walking towards a cliff and they're literally going to fall to their death, you're supposed to yell out and do whatever you can to get them to stop and turn around and go the other way. You know, it's crazy. You care more about yourself than you care about their salvation. This is heaven or hell. This is not a game. Everyone thinks it's a game. Everybody wants to be wishy-washy. They want to be in the middle. They want to have balance. Listen, you know, that whole balance thing, that's New Age, that's Satanism. And Satanists believe that for every evil thing they got to do something good. No, it's not a balance. It's one side or the other. There's a line being drawn in the sand. Listen, this is the separation between the wheat and the tares, the sheep and the goats. You're either a sheep or a goat. You're either a wheat or a tare. If you're out there engaging in a satanic holiday, Satan's holiday, and you're condoning it to your kids or your cousins or your brothers or your sisters or your grandkids, what do you think that makes you? You think you're still a sheep and not a goat? You think you're still a wheat and not a tare? This is not complicated, especially a thing like Halloween. Listen, all of the holly days, right? Holly, like Hollywood. These wizards, these witches, they make their wands and their staffs out of wood from the holly tree, right? So just like you have Hollywood, are you connecting the dots? You have holidays. It's just a play on words. Here's a newsflash. All holidays are pagan. None of them are of God, including Christmas, okay? But that's a whole nother story. Even though December 25th is not Jesus' birthday. But I'm not going to go there because that's a whole nother video. But, you know, I would say Christmas, you know, people have more ammunition to debate that one, you know, because they can always say, well, but the birth of Christ, we're celebrating the birth. Okay, well, no, you're not really. You're having a family reunion, and you're out there buying presents and receiving presents, and it's all about presents, and it's all about spending money. It's all about being materialistic and covetousness and gluttony and everything else. You're not dedicating that time to Jesus. You're dedicating that time to everybody but him. And that Christmas tree don't have nothing to do with him. But anyway, that's another video. I don't want to get off topic. But the Halloween? Hallows Eve? Samhain? Samhain? Like, are you serious? You know, the Druids, you know, a lot of this stems from the Druids. And the Druids, they were the ones that celebrated this Samhain. And they you know what they would do? They would make a big Burning Man. This is why that big Burning Man, whatever the hell it is, that's a huge satanic ritual. It's nothing but witches and wizards that go there. All right, it's all debauchery and they have a bunch of orgies and do drugs, and it's sick and it's satanic. Well, that came from the Druids, and what they did every year at this time of year, they would sacrifice humans. They would make a big. It wasn't Burning Man. It was Wicker Man. They made a big, giant effigy of a human, and it was made out of wicker. And you know, wicker, when you light it on fire, it burns really good. Well, they made a bunch of cages of wicker in this sculpture made out of wicker, and they would lock people in these cages, and then they would set it on fire. And these people would burn alive. And they gave people, and let me tell you where the whole bobbing for apples came from. They would give these people who were supposed to be sacrificed, they would give them an opportunity to live. And so they had an option. And their option was to bob for apples. But it wasn't like the bobbing for apples that you see today. they would have a big cauldron or a big vat of boiling oil. Scalding hot, boiling oil, and they would put a bunch of apples in there. And they told these people, if you can bob your head in there and pull one of these apples out with your mouth, you don't have to burn. You can live. You'll be free. Well, most of the people died doing it. And if they happened to survive, they were completely disfigured, looking like Freddy Krueger the rest of their life. And their life expectancy, they didn't live long, because a lot of them, when they would dunk their heads in the boiling oil, first of all, they would be blinded. It'd burn their eyes out. Sometimes it would get the burning hot oil would get down their throat. It would cause all kinds of damage to their throat, and it would get down in their lungs, and it would burn up their lungs, and then they would suffer the rest of their life, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, and then they would die. If that's not wicked, I don't know what is, but this is the origin of where your bobbing for apples came from. Now, I want you to think about that the next time you go to some stupid little festival, fall festival, or Halloween party, and you're letting your kids sit there bound, because that's what they would do to these people. They would bind them up and tie their hands together and bob for apples. Think about that the next time you're at a festival and you let your kids bob for apples. Think about what you are what that represents. Think about the origins and where that came from. If you're not convicted and you see, look, before you know something like this, you're ignorant. God has a lot of grace for ignorance. But now that I've given you the truth, now that you know, are you still going to do it? That's the question. Halloween is blatantly satanic and evil. And this is just a stupid debate. It's a stupid discussion. If you're a true Christian, this is not a question. It's a duh moment, like, really? But if you're lukewarm, if you're a fake Christian, then you're probably asking, well, is it okay if or you're trying to make a case for yourself. Listen, like I said, just go ahead and be on the cold side. You're not ready to be a Christian. That's fine. You're not ready. People, believe me, I'm going to get backlash from this. Oh, you're so harsh. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Because I'm just telling you, I'm provoking you to do what Jesus said. Jesus said, I'd rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm. Because if you're lukewarm, I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth.